So I'm really excited to be talking to you today, Scott. A couple weeks ago, we were together in Egypt. We actually met for the first time there after, yeah, some Zoom calls over the course of the last few months. And one of the things we were talking about was, well, A, being able to do something on camera together, and B, you being able to tell your story, your kind of journey into Threefold. I'm pretty pumped that we get to do this today.
Absolutely, me too. It's been quite the adventure so far, and I'm looking forward to sharing with folks how I learned about Threefold, how I came to be a part of the team, everything that's happened along the way, and also just kind of to show how you too could become a part of the community and maybe get more involved.
Perfect. Yeah, just for some context, so my name is Sam for the audience. I've been at Threefold for a couple of years since 2019, and I work on the promotion team, promotion communication team. Some of you may have seen me in the chats and the channels, and yeah, kind of everyone's journey into Threefold is always very interesting. Actually, anyone I talk to that's part of the foundation has a story, and we won't get into all of that today. But um, I guess I'll just start with asking you, how did you learn about Threefold? How did you even come to find out that Threefold existed?
Yeah, so it's very strange how it happened actually. A little over a year ago, I got an email newsletter from Hacker Noon, who I was subscribed to, and they'd done something very strange. They changed the subject line in their email to say, "Do not open this email," in all caps. And I looked at that and I thought, "Ah, I got to bite on this one." So I opened the newsletter, and there was a story in there about Threefold. I clicked the link, read the story, and pretty much for the rest of that day, I was just reading Threefold content, watching video, listening to videos while I was in the shower. Like I just got super excited about everything that I was seeing, and I wanted to learn as much as I could. And what was particularly exciting to me was, yes, this is very cool technology, autonomous IT that's super efficient and all that. But I also was seeing, as I was reading through the wikis and seeing some of these videos, just like a strong core of values as well about doing something for the planet, connecting everyone that's not connected in order to provide opportunity, and also a strong, what I'd call like spiritual core to the project, which I feel like is lacking pretty much across the tech space. So, for me, being a big nerd and also someone that's into consciousness and spirituality, I found like I felt felt like I'd found something that I couldn't ignore.
Yeah, I was going to ask you also a little bit about maybe taking a step back. Like, what was your experience kind of like related to Threefold? Like, what, is it, was it tech? I know you have a bit of a technology background. You kind of did a lot of the teaching yourself. Like, were you exploring other projects, similar projects? Kind of what was your entry point into being interested about a project like Threefold anyway, you know?
Yeah, great question. So I've been, as you said, sort of teaching myself about technology. I learned a lot of things actually from my dad, but I chose not to pursue it as a career. So instead, I studied English and got into freelance writing, and that's where I've been for a while. But I'm also very interested in cryptocurrency, blockchains, emerging technologies, things like this. Um, with caution, right? I'm very curious about these things, but also very wary of like how technology is a part of our lives. It took me a lot of years to get a smartphone, for example. So I'm really into tech, but also sometimes a slow adopter. But when it came to like blockchain and crypto, this is something that I saw having enormous transformative potential for the planet in terms of eliminating this kind of universal tax that's extracted by banks and all this. So I've been into cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, blockchain for a few years and just following different projects in the space, working a few freelance contracts here and there for projects but and being involved in some communities, but not finding um, really a place that I felt like super at home. I mean, aside from like some of the Bitcoin meetups and Bitcoin local community stuff that I do, but in terms of projects that I felt like I really wanted to like contribute a lot to, like Threefold was kind of distinct again. Like could see immediately, like, yeah, I want to help these guys out. So
And so what was that initial experience like about, okay, I'm interested in Threefold, and then you start reading documentation, the wikis, all of that, having some initial conversations. Like, what was that process like for you?
yeah, so I learned about farming, which I got excited about. I've always kind of wanted to maybe like mine some crypto or whatever, but didn't really want like big, loud mining rigs generating a bunch of heat in my house all the time. And I've also always thought it would be cool to like have a server at home. And there've been times when I had like an old desktop computer that I like had Linux on and was playing with a bit. Um, so having a way to like earn some passive income and put together, like I used to build computers when I was a kid. So the idea of building a DIY node was super fun. And so I started learning everything that I could about farming and DIY and how to optimize a build for earnings and what kind of hardware was ideal and all this. And what I found is there was a lot of information, but in order to get certain details, I needed to actually look at like source code or do a lot of digging, just not through wikis, but also GitHub. And after I had gone through all that, I decided, well, I'm going to produce something for the community. So I made this FAQ on
Mm-hmm.
farming,
Mm-hmm.
and Andreas from the team came back and said, cool, like, love what you did here. And that was encouraging. I started posting some more on the forum as well about actually one of my first posts was pretty critical. I was talking about kind of the the experience of coming in from the community and feeling like
Yeah.
there was things that could be more transparent and like at the time Threefold was really coming into the public for the
Mm-hmm.
first time after sort of like flying under the radar for a while. So I was kind of like, hey, come on, guys! Like, if you're gonna be open to the public and bringing folks into the community, I think there's some ways to improve there. And I got a few responses from the team that were really encouraging about, hey, we're gonna take this into consideration and all that. And some point around their role from the team, who unfortunately just left us, he reached out and was like, hey, do you want to get on Zoom sometime? I said, sure. And we had a great chat. And actually, Christoph popped onto that call for a little bit at the end too, which,
Really?
yeah, it really blew my mind. I was like, wow, this is, my first call with anyone from the team. And
Uh-huh.
Christoph, the main leader, main founder, just showed up, to say hi. And um, Christoph and I interacted a little bit um, since then, not too much, but he would sometimes just check in and be like, hey, how's everything going? And
Mhm.
I thought that was really, really super cool. A lot of CEOs, founders, people in these positions tend to maybe not be so involved with their communities. So I was like super impressed that he was engaging with me from the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for anybody that's part of the community, I'm sure you see Christoph on like some Sunday mornings, shoot out like 3 forum posts. Like he's definitely involved. And yeah, I mean, he's our lead co-founder, obviously, but he very much, what I love about Christoph and respect about Christoph, or one of the things, is that he's very much about this decentralization movement. He does not want to be, kind of that um, pyramid at the top of the pyramid kind of a thing. He really, he believes in this mission and this movement in his heart, but he wants it to be everybody's movement. And that's kind of an example of how he's getting involved. Like you say, he's not sitting in some tiny office by himself. Well, he's in his office a lot by himself. But I mean, I think you said, that was something that maybe surprised you a little bit, like Christoph coming into this Zoom call. Not to put you on the spot, maybe this is a difficult question, but like as you were learning more about the project and talking to more people and going through more documentation, and I know you even started to do some testing, like what were some of the things, or maybe one of the things that surprised you about the project or the team or the technology that you didn't really know in the beginning?
Good question. Well, one thing I will say is that the threefold system was kind of outside the scope of my understanding at
Mm,
the beginning.
okay.
So,
Me too.
you know, so I came in, feeling like I know a lot of things about computers and I've had some experience working with servers, like hosting a website for my business or things like this. So I came in feeling like I had a pretty strong idea about what a decentralized cloud would be and what kind of things would go into it and maybe a bit about how it might work. And I quickly learned that there was quite a bit that was outside of my scope, just because, one, because I'm not a professional working with all the systems that are used for these kinds of things, like Kubernetes and
Mhm,
containers, etc. And then also, like what Threefold has done is really radical in the sense of being a root, like a low level change in the way that everything is organized. So again, another thing that surprised and really impressed me when I came in is the Zero OS operating system,
mhm,
which is an incredible piece of work. I mean, there's a handful really of different operating systems that anyone uses, whether for their desktops and laptops or on servers. It's a very small set, and
mhm,
creating a new operating system is notoriously difficult. So
mhm,
when I learned that the team had done this, I was very, very intrigued. And then getting more into the details of how does it work, what is required to have an operating system that looks at a blockchain in order to uh, launch these deployments autonomously using cryptocurrency payments. Um, yeah, it's super cool. And then I guess another thing that surprised me is just how reliable the technology already was for being so groundbreaking and under development for maybe a few years and bits and pieces, but a
mhm.
lot of it is super new. So I was impressed by that, but also as I started testing, as you mentioned, I started running into some issues, and um, I got to connect with some folks from the development team, particularly Tabet, who started helping me through some things. And again, this was just cool. Like he reached out and was kind of like, "Hey, noticed you're having some issues. Like, sorry about that. Like, let's get you up to speed." And Tabet is one of our lead developers and super busy guy. So again, just like the fact that he just reached out to me and wanted to help get me up to speed was super cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love Tabet. I love the team. I love the fact, we're obviously people are busy doing what we need to do to move the project forward. But I love to see the team in the chat, and I remember those interactions with you and Tabet, and now it's kind of you doing the same thing for other people in the community now, which is really cool to see as well. Okay, so you started testing a bit. You were doing a bit of support here and there. What was it that kind of made you want to dive deeper, or what were the things that were happening, I guess, like as you started to do the testing?
Yeah, good question. So in terms of diving deeper, I think the most important thing for me is that I love to learn,
Mm-hmm.
and there's just a lot to learn in the threefold universe. There's so much that's new. So given I was already really interested for the reasons I mentioned before, just like the fact that there was so much depth to it really kept me engaged. And I started from there to contribute a bit to the documentation. Sasha, who we work with, reached out to me and we started talking about kind of web presence and some of the promotional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
he wanted sort of a perspective from someone, in the community about
Hmm.
how do things look, and that was cool for me too, because a lot of the work that I do freelancing is around marketing and communications. So
Hmm.
it was cool to be talking about that stuff as well, and just lending some perspective. And that kind of describes a bit about like where I'm at right now, where I work with you on the marketing, promotion, communication team. You help me out with some of the videos and demos and things that I produce. And then I'm also not in the development side of things, but with the technical team, testing, things like this, kind of with a foot in both worlds, and working with our community to help folks out and just make sure that especially like technical questions are getting answered, and that we're addressing issues and things like that. So yeah, this opportunity too to be working with technology, but also doing it in a very human way, right? Like with people, not just building tech and testing tech, but also helping people to also get there, and creating tutorials and documentation, etc. It really engages to important aspects of myself,
Hmm.
and that I think too is a big reason that I continued to dive in and go deeper.
Yeah, I loved that you came in, you know, you came in to the community, and you, like you said, your first forum post was critical actually, but not maliciously. It was kind of in a way to be like, hey guys, like I actually have an opinion in this community, and it would be great if you listened to it. And in the end, ultimately, we have gotten a lot more direct and kind of open about the things that we're working on, asking for feedback, and that's what you were kind of doing, is providing that feedback, which is, I think, something that's relatively unique about Threefold as well, is that we really we want the community's feedback, because this is not just our project. This is a movement of people around the world. Like, for example, you're in the west coast of the United States, I'm in Turkey. It's, we're 10 hours apart. People around the world now are getting involved in this project, and sharing their opinions, offering feedback, and that's really something I hope that we can get going even more, and really, hopefully, as part of this interview, help people understand that you know that's how this project wants to function. From the foundation standpoint, that's how we want to be.
Oh, definitely. I see, and this is a big reason too. I was excited to do this, not just to talk about myself and all the cool stuff that I get to do with Threefold now, but also to encourage others, and just to show like, I didn't know anyone from the team or even the community. I just literally clicked a link in my email, and I didn't fill out any job applications or anything like this. It was really just about looking at what was happening and thinking about how I could contribute. So yeah, when I started posting to the forum and having some critiques and ideas, along with sharing some things that I learned, it was really coming from a place of love, right? Like
Mhm.
seeing how important I think the threefold mission is, and seeing a lot of opportunity to facilitate the growth of it, and and make it easier for folks to come and join and contribute. So that's kind of been one of my goals from the beginning, and definitely a goal um, right now. And that's what I want to say to anyone out there who's seeing this video, is that there is a way for you to become involved. And of course, that may or may not result in you joining the team someday, but if you can find ways to contribute, it's absolutely welcome. And we are open to talking with folks, whether it's via Telegram chats or even Zoom. Like, this is an open project, an open team, an open community. And if you want to get involved and come join us, there's no need to feel like there's some barriers or like you can't interact with us or that we're somehow distant, because again, I just literally walked in off the internet like anybody else. And and yeah,
Yeah,
here I am today with my threefold t-shirt on. Like it's
exactly, exactly. Yeah, I wanted to ask you. Yeah, that's true, right? You came in, you didn't know anybody. Then all of a sudden, like several months fast forward, you're in Greece. Then you're in Egypt. We're in, like you've got, and you've also gotten to meet. I mean, especially in that Egypt trip, you got to meet a ton of people as part of the project who, before that were probably just via Telegram communication or, some Zoom calls. But one thing that we share a love of, you and I, is the other side of threefold, which is the people and the kind of the spirit, the ethos, like that kind of a thing. So maybe just touch on, a bit of your experiences with meeting people in real life as part of the team, and that side of the project, not the technology.
yeah, absolutely. Right, because the threefold grid is a computer network, but threefold in my mind is much more about the human network. And
Exactly.
of course, we are working with the tech a lot, and that's the biggest focus right now. However, what it's really about is people coming together, being able, yes, to communicate using this technology, but really about building communities, building networks in order to, ultimately help humanity to survive and thrive on this planet, right? Like,
Mm.
I think the stakes are pretty high, and we all understand that. So, yes, coming into the community and meeting different folks, first on Telegram or in forums, and then through Zoom, and eventually in person, has been really super cool. Like, I feel like I've made already many new great friends, like yourself, and I'm having experiences which I really never imagined. Not that I didn't imagine they were possible, but I did not imagine that they would be part of my life in such a short time, and in the way that they are. So yeah, like you mentioned, I got to go to Greece in, what was that, July,
Mm.
for the first time. It was my first time in Europe, first time off the North American continent, actually. Sasha invited me out to meet him and work together along with another colleague, Alexander. And so I went to Athens and met up with Sasha, and immediately, like, we had talked quite a bit on Zoom. He's one of the people I've spoken with on Zoom the
Mm.
most. Um, but yeah, immediately upon meeting in person, it was like, wow, this is a next level, right? And
Yeah.
we talked a bunch that night and throughout my trip, like, about work, but also about life, the
Life.
universe, and
Yeah.
everything. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, when I think about Threefold, it's, yeah, about people coming together with this shared purpose and mission. And when I think about the experiences that I've had with the team, the first in Greece, and then I came back to the States really just briefly for like a couple of weeks, and then um, someone invited me to come out to Egypt, so I said sure.
Why not?
Packed my bag again. Got back on the plane. Um, Egypt was great because I got to meet a pretty significant group from the team, including you, some of the Egyptian developers, Waynand, who's another guy that I've been talking with on Zoom from time to time, Christoph, um, some of the Belgian developers, and so a nice group there, and just
Mm.
feeling what it's like to be together with the team, working together, super hard, but then also having tons of fun, just feeling really, really filled up with joy, honestly, to be doing work that I see as very important, and which is in engaging my skills and my passions with people who are super caring, heart centered, hardworking, awesome folks. So yeah, I'm excited to come back to whatever part of the world it will be next, and
For sure. It's always
yeah, continue that adventure.
indeed, it's always an adventure, is what I was going to say. And it's a very, it's a very interesting group of characters. But what's great is, you know, obviously this is what our work. It's, what we do to earn a living. But behind nearly everybody in this project is this belief that the technology needs to exist for much more important reasons than just for people to use technology. It's for people to be data sovereign, for people that don't have currently access to the internet to be able to have it, and for so many more reasons. And everyone has their different story, and it's just it's great to be able to be part of a project where work kind of blends into life. And sometimes it's a little bit, you need to have some separation, but also it is a benefit and a luxury to be able to operate in this kind of an organization. So um,
Yeah, absolutely. I never really imagined like such a thing was possible. You know, if I had to think about like what is my dream job, like I can't really. It's hard for me to add much to the picture of what's already existing. I see too a lot of room within Threefold. Like, yeah, now I do a lot of producing technical content and I make these videos, etc. But I also have opportunities like in one of these videos, I decided I wanted to record some music on my flute for the intro, and
exactly.
um, I got to take some footage for it while like doing a cool hike in
Mhm.
Greece, you know. So I see too within the organization a greater opportunity for each of us to express ourselves in different ways, and it doesn't always have to be just sitting in front of a computer all day. And I know that the team and the vision is very much oriented around a larger picture of what can we share with the world beyond just the technology. Of course, this is the first step, but
Exactly.
all of us have um, other skills, other passions, other um, things to teach and to give. So again, thinking about the human network and what is ultimately the goal of what we're doing, to be able to share more of ourselves, I think is super exciting, and something we'll see unfolding as we get this Grid 3 release out there, and the tech is more stable. Then seeing what comes on top of that with the tools that we're already building, the networking, communication, um, all that. It's super exciting.
Yeah, and I think, it's hard. I would think anybody that's involved is kind of looking forward to that moment, right? Like for me, when I came into this project, I the vision, the long-term vision of what I saw was something that to your point earlier, I never even kind of considered it, and now just thinking about all that's going to happen, because I'll say going to happen, on top of this technology that's being built is really, it's kind of like I don't know. I mean, for me, it's this. I have this big dream and vision inside of my head that I know is going to happen. I just can't wait for that moment. But obviously, we have some sequence of events that need to happen, and it leads to my last question, which is, all right, we're talking about the long-term vision, the future, and what's possible on top of the technology with the network of people contributing. But maybe in the short and the midterm, like what are you most looking forward to and excited about within the Threefold project?
Yeah, for sure. Right now, I'm really looking forward to opening up our Grid 3.0 testing to a larger group from the community,
Mm-hmm.
which we're getting pretty close to. The the Grid 3 release is a big change in terms of um, how the system handles its billing, how deployments are handled. It's really streamlining some things that were sticky points in
Mm-hmm.
Grid 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very excited to just see what folks do with this. how they relate to the tech, what comes out of it, how things grow. Along with that, we have some very exciting partnerships that are in the works. Um, Not sure what we can talk about right now in the moment, but
Nothing.
yeah, you're the one to ask on that. So I'll leave it at that. But we have cool stuff coming, right? So I'm very excited to see what happens as folks utilize the grid in bigger ways, both through partnerships and just individuals. Really seeing the grid take off and come into its own, see a community of developers
Hmm.
who are contributing to the open source components and building things on top of it. And once that happens, I think we'll see, of course, ThreeFold will continue to develop the technology and support it in a big way, but I think we'll see that aspect take on a life of its own,
Yeah.
which will free up some energy and resources from all of us who are currently working very hard to support the tech and get the word out about it and
Hmm.
what it is and what it does. I'm also very excited for release of some of the solutions that we've been working on in-house in a bigger way, things like the video chat, this document file browser. These things are super cool. They're very groundbreaking in terms of seeing, okay, we can have an alternative to these major corporate cloud services that most of us use every day, that we actually own, that's hosted on sovereign capacity, that can't be tampered with, which has potentially the uptime, better uptime guarantees than centralized providers, which are typically pretty good, but when they go out, you're out of luck, right? So seeing how these solutions work in the field, seeing what kind of challenges come up and how we can resolve them. Like, this is super cool to me because that's the next, I see the hardware layer, the grid being very
Hmm.
solid. We have this software experience layer that's still kind of percolating and coming together. And then again, the human layer on top of that, seeing what folks do with this technology, how they connect with each other. Because ultimately, when I think about ThreeFold, again, it's a group of humans working together on this shared purpose. And the tech and is about it's a network, right? And so when I think about my life up to this point and how I relate to things and the values, it's like I've been involved in different movements to work to change the world and make it a better place, right? And I'm involved in different communities that share values. But when you look out in the world, there's different groups working on different things in different places, and we have to communicate with each other through major social platforms, which are engaged in censorship. And, there's a great need that I see for this kind of a mycelium network, right, that can connect different individuals and groups that care about the planet and humanity so that we can communicate freely and grow larger networks, right, that can work together in order to create a more beautiful world. So that's what I'm here for.
Amen. Yeah, I mean, I think we can both agree there's so much to look forward to with this project in the short and the long term, and the possibilities are really endless. So lots of work to be done still, but so much to look forward to ahead of us. Well, that's all the questions I have for you, brother. I'm very happy that we got to have this conversation, and I actually learned some things that I didn't know before. So thank you for sharing.
Of course. And thank you for the idea to do this and for uh, facilitating making it happen. I really appreciate that. It's always super fun chatting with you, and I feel honored to be working with you at ThreeFold. So let's
Likewise,
uh, let's
likewise.
keep it up. Yeah.
Let's do it, brother.